Hi, I'm Maiju and this is our garden in County Kerry. Me and my spuds.
Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome back to someone else's garden, not my garden. This is really exciting. I wanted to visit this garden myself and also to show you this garden because it is not a garden that's open to the public, but I think it's really inspirational. The person that's made it has turned it into something that isn't only beautiful, it's productive as well, and it is a really beautiful space to be in. So let's have a look around. Yes. This is great. When I planned to come and see your garden, I didn't plan on this. No.
Well, you weren't going to get kisses from me. So we're based here in North Kerry, and we're sort of in between a couple of mountain ranges. We're quite elevated. We're about 170 meters or just less than 600 feet above the sea level. We're situated sort of on a little bit over an acre of a site, and it would have been just a big field where the horses were grazing. That's literally when we showed up to buy the site, what was here. And we loved it from the moment we set the eyes to it, because it was just so lush and have beautiful views down the valley and up to the next hill as well. And obviously being south facing, I knew immediately you can grow stuff. I definitely think that anybody starting off with a garden should start small, because it's so easy to get yourself sort of wrapped up in the big ideas. But if you start small, even pots or planters, one border maybe, and just pick your couple of plants that you really like, and once you can handle them, go bigger. You can always go bigger. But I just think you'd be too disappointed if everything fails, which you can do, and just give it a bad season, and it would be just easier for yourself to start smaller and build to it. So where I'm here now is actually where I started to sort of build the garden from, and that's an area that I refer to as the rose garden. So the layout of this space is probably quite a classical look, rather than having more of an informal vegetable garden side, a flowy side. This is much more a formal part, and you have the raised beds in the middle, plus then the gravelled footpaths. But mostly what we have here are at the moment peonies, roses, there's few gladioli, and then grasses. Plus then some of the edging is done by lavender, and then obviously you have the hornbeam, large hornbeam hedges, just to create a bit of a privacy and provide shelter as well. I would have started with purely ornamental plants at the very beginning, and it just very slowly then developed into vegetable growing as well. Because I very naively thought that everything was grown organically. I just never thought about the pesticide side of it, because when I would have seen my grandparents farming, there was never any chemicals used, and I genuinely thought that was a way that most of the produce was grown. But that's how I then eventually ended up with vegetables as well. But no, the ornamental side is very much a joy. And again, it's probably reminds me a lot of my other side grandparents that would have been really into roses and ornamental growing and fruit trees. The ornamental side was really what was in my head at the beginning. It was all about flowers and roses, and only lately I've been able to add on the vegetable side, which we're really delighted about.
So show me what you grow.
Oh yeah.
I want to see all the things that you grow.
So what we do, so at the moment, obviously I have the beds laid out.
Yeah.
So you have brassicas on this side, on the right hand side of us, and we have a mix of beetroot, chard and onions in the middle. And then we have this kind of a really richly manured bed that's full of corn and squashes, summer squashes, and there's spaghetti squash in here as well. And then far upside there's peas, and I have shallots there, which most now have been harvested by now. And obviously wild rocket or the arugula, that's going crazy.
And you created all of this from scratch?
Absolutely, yeah. This would have been totally just green grass beforehand. Literally just another area that needed to be mowed.
Yeah.
And now there you have it. It's full of food.
And it makes such a difference.
Yeah, it does.
I love it.
It does. I think the one thing actually what I'm personally the most going to advocate towards are these kind of the permaculture structures or fruit tree guilds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where you have a mix of plants growing together in a setting. So you have your main plant, which in this case, obviously being an apple tree guild, you have an apple, so it's a deep-rooted plant. You have at the moment lupin, which obviously is a good pollinator, but it's also part of the legume family.
Yeah.
So it's a good nitrogen fixer. And we have a herb at the front, which is lavender. Again, good pollinator. We have yarrow, another good, real deep-rooted plant and great for pollinators, but it's so pretty to look at. And obviously you could do it as a cut flower mix. There's borage, brilliant again for pollinators, and you can, with edible flowers. And there's fennel in here, and I would have had chamomile here as well, but that's gone over now. So there's a good mix of pollinator friendly, but at the same time, some of it edible as well.
It's a really interesting mix because it's not a mix that I have in my garden.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the beauty of these tree guilds, is that you can combine the plants that you prefer yourself the most. Like on the other side is another fruit tree guild, but it is mainly herbal. So you have parsley, but that's gone well over now, flowering. You have chives, there's rosemary, again yarrow, fennel, and calendula and borage.
And it's really beautiful.
Yeah, and it's so
really
beautiful. Look at, yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, they're all supporting one another.
Yeah.
With the growing, and it all suppresses weeds as well. So there's no weeding. I've done no weeding in any of those two borders.
Don't make me jealous. Enough.
I think my tip to anybody starting or thinking about starting gardening is literally just do it. The same as I did the green roof behind me there. Just try something that you're not familiar with, but do it small bit at a time and start with easier plants. See what enjoyment you get out of it. Because it could be that you only like flowers, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it could be that you love to grow the biggest cabbage in the parish. And there's nothing wrong with that either. But just do something, because it will nurture your soul. I think it will benefit you in ways you don't know yet. So just do it, but perhaps start in a small scale.
And we're going to have a look in your polycarbonate greenhouse? Polytunnel greenhouse?
Yes, great growing space,
Yeah.
absolutely. Don't know how I did it before that. So the greenhouse is a very new addition to my garden. It was only set up this spring, and I genuinely don't know how I grew half the things beforehand. Well, I know, because I grew all the tomatoes and cucumbers what we needed in the kitchen or in our living room. So I'm sure that my husband is very happy that those have gone out of the house and they have a designated spot now in the garden. And I also find it a really good growing space, because I could try now to grow through the season of even during the winter months when perhaps outside otherwise would be too cold. Yeah. So that's just another way of me to learn how to grow more food. So what I've gone for this year are a few varieties of tomatoes. There is a lovely heritage apricot salix in here, and there are Queen of Night, and what else you could see probably is the champagne cherry tomato variety. And I know that next year I'm going back to some reds. I really miss seeing the color of red in a tomato. But what I'm really excited to see is that the cucumbers that I grow here are exactly the same variety that I would have grown in the sitting room, and they're doing much better even in the greenhouse situation. So they've been very, very productive, a lot of harvest from that. There's a lot of chilies, probably way too many than we would need. And that's probably something, again, to review for next year. There's the extra hot ones, Scotch bonnets, that haven't started to fruit yet, but there's very promising signs, because being such a hot chili, they take much longer to mature. But there's cayenne, bueno mulato, serrana, Chinese 5-spice. And do you know what? If you just grow some of them just for the sake of looking at them, they are so pretty. They are amazing looking plants. The variety of colour is like a flower bouquet itself, nearly. Cucamelons. Yes, there's a fab I will not buy into. They are lovely looking things, very nice. If you're looking for a plant to screen an area off, brilliant for you. But as something to eat, I choose a standard cucumber.
What I love about your place, or at least what I love by seeing the photos that you put up on Instagram or the videos that you make on your YouTube channel, is that you seem to have nailed this perfect balance of productive gardening and ornamental gardening.
Yeah, I find that actually is really important to us. And I'm probably going more towards the productive gardening side now. Because I'm seeing so much more benefit to us as a family out of it. Yeah. Rather than just me looking at pretty flowers, there's actually something nutritious that we can put on the table and we can all enjoy.
Spending the day here has been really something else. I wanted to come and see Maiju's garden for a long time, and I was very fortunate that the weather worked out this weekend and that we've been able to make it happen. And I think you'll agree that from hearing what she has to say, you can see that you really can achieve something really pretty special on whatever scale you want. And that's what I love about this place, is that rather than showing you some huge grand garden, this is a really beautiful garden, but the usable space that Maiju uses daily to grow her vegetables, to have her ornamental plants and her lovely places to sit, and to let Snowy run around and chase the ball, is an area that I think is accessible and really identifiable to a lot of people. I love the amount of stuff that she grows, and this is just such a lovely place to be, and you can definitely see Maiju in this garden. So I owe her a huge debt of gratitude for letting me come and spend the day here. If you go across to Instagram, I'll link her account down below. It's Spuds and Roses. And equally, if you head across to her YouTube channel, which I'll link up above, her channel is also Spuds and Roses. Go, subscribe, and show her your support, because she is very much deserving of it. And it's time for me to hit the road and head back across the country back to County Meath and back to my own garden.
This is my greenhouse. This is not your greenhouse, Niall. This is my greenhouse. Because this is my greenhouse.
So this is, okay, go for it.
It is my greenhouse, yeah.